Hey guys, it's Nitu. Today I'm going to explain HTML and CSS forms in web technology. First, we'll see about the HTML forms. An HTML form is used to collect user input. The user input is most often sent to a server for processing. Here is an example, and we're going to see the code of HTML form. See, in the form, first we are given a first name and the last name and the submit button. Why to use submit button is if you click the submit button, the form data will be sent to a page called actionpage.php. Here is a code for HTML form and I have given a header as HTML form. Here we have to use HTML body and the form which we have selected, and next we are using the form element. The HTML form element is used to create an HTML form for user input. Here is a small syntax form element. We are going to use the form and then we're going to give the form elements which we needed and we're going to close it. The form element is a container for different types of input elements such as text fields, checkboxes, radio button, submit buttons, etc. We're going to discuss about this in brief. First, the input element. The HTML input is the most used form element. An input element can be displayed in many ways, depending on the type attribute. Here are some examples. In a type, first I'm using input type is equals to text. If input type is equals to text, it displays a single line text input field. If input type is equals to radio, it will display a radio button for selecting one of many choices. If input type is equals to checkbox, it displays a checkbox for selecting zero or more of many choices. If input type is equals to submit, it will display a submit button for submitting the form. If input type is equals to button, it will display a checkable button. First, we'll see text fields. Input type is equals to text. It will define a single line input field for text field. Here is an example for text fields in the code. Again, in the header, I have mentioned text input fields. This is an header, and I have given a font size, color, everything. We can select here. And form I'm giving as a first name and a last name, and the paragraph which I have mentioned is note that the form itself is not visible. And one more paragraph is that also note that the default width of text input field is 20 characters. The characters are defaultly arranged. So using that we have written a code here. Next, the label input. Notice the use of the label element in the example. First, label tag. It will define the label for many form elements. The label element is useful for screen reader users because the screen reader will read out loud the label when the user focuses on the input element. The for attribute of the label tag should be equal to the ID attribute of the input element to bind them together. Next, we'll see about the radio buttons. If input type is equals to radio, it will define the radio buttons. Radio buttons let the user select one of the limited number of choices. Radio buttons will let the users to select how many choices it needs. And here is a simple code for radio buttons. The again header input fields and the first name, last name, and I have given a paragraph. And I have used radio buttons here. And next, I'm going to explain about checkboxes. Input type is equals to checkbox. It will define the checkboxes. What checkboxes will do is it will let the user select zero or more options of a limited number of choices. Here is an code for checkbox where we are using input labels and in a form and we are executing it. The submit button. The input type is equals to submit. It will define button for submitting the form data to a form handler. The form handler is typically a file on the server with a script for processing input data. The form handler is specified in the form's action attribute. And here is a small code for small submit button. And next we are going for the name attribute for input. Notice that each input field must have a name attribute to be submitted. If the name attribute is omitted, the value of the input field will not be sent at all. And it is a small code for name attribute. Next, we'll go for CSS forms. The look of an HTML form can be greatly improved with CSS. Here is a small outlook of the CSS form. We can give first name, last name, and the country we are in, which we are living in. Next, styling input fields. Use the width property to determine the width of the input fields. Here we are using the width property. See, the header I given is a full width in input field, and I have given a label as only first name, and I have mentioned the width should be 100%. You can type this code and run in your run in your desktop, and you can see the same output. Next, we see padded inputs. Use the padding property to add space inside the text field. Here is a small code for padded inputs. Here we are using HTML, head, style, and I'm giving input in style. I'm giving an input type is equals to type is equals to text, and I'm mentioning a width 100%, and I'm padding 12 pixel and a 20 pixel, and I'm giving a margin 8 pixel and a 0, and I'm box sizing border box. I need the border box, so I am giving a box sizing as border box. And in body I'm using header padded input fields. And forms, again we have to give like a first name and a last name, and if we run this program you will get output like this. This is a header padded input fields, and these are the forms which we are needed. Next, bordered inputs. Use the border property to change the border size and color, and use the border radius property to add rounded corners. There we saw the width which can be changed, and here we are seeing the color and size of the text will be changed. Same here again we are using HTML head in style. I'm giving input type is equals to text. I'm mentioning a width size, padding size, margin size, and a box sizing. And again in border, I'm giving the color for border. Border should be 2 pixel and it should be solid red. I'm giving a color is solid red. Again border radius should be 4 pixel. And again, I'm giving header as input fields with borders. And in form, I'm giving the first name and the last name. This is the output where you get. Here we are changed the color and size of the text and the border, or anything which you need you can mention, and you can change the color and text. Thank you.